Hey, welcome everybody to our Q1 2025 community call. David and I are very eager to share with you the updates from this past quarter and our plans for the rest of the year. We're really proud of everything that the community's been helping us to accomplish, so look forward to sharing all the great progress that's being made today. So in terms of agenda, we're going to recap the past few months, give some updates and announcements about what's forthcoming, and then we're going to talk about some of the ongoing activities across the community around our collaboration, and then give a glimpse into the events we'll be participating at, the upcoming webinars that are on the calendar, and other ways that you can stay directly engaged throughout the forthcoming months. So first off, we're going to recap some of the various events, both in person and virtual, that David, myself, and other community members have had a chance to be at. So David, do you want to kick us off by talking about your participation in this podcast?
Yes, so in the run up to FOSDEM, we got together with a number of other DPGs, such as OpenCRVS and the World Resources Institute, and was hosted by Mike Schwartz, who manages Glue. And it was a good chance just to really pick their brains and have a chat between us DPGs about what's it like being a DPG product owner, how do we work together, how important is open source to us. So it was a really good precursor to what we then went on to do at FOSDEM, which I think is probably the next slide, actually. No, it isn't, actually. Also in the run up to FOSDEM, we had a chance, following on from the launch of Gazelle last December, to present to more of the DPGA DPGs. So there's a regular meeting that occurs for all DPGs when the DPGA to get together and share knowledge. And normally there's a chance to discuss a topic, and we were chosen. So I got to present more about Mifos Gazelle, more about what it actually means as DPI as a package solution. And really good event, actually. So it's really good questions, and a really good chance to spread the message about what we've done. And we've had a lot of follow up in subsequent meetings from other DPGs, very keen to align with what we're doing. So following that, it was a hectic few days because the sequence of these three slides is about 4 days. It was a very hectic few days, and it was a very hectic few days at FOSDEM as well. I wasn't quite sure what to expect when I got there. I've been told the horror stories of take your own roll of toilet paper because there's none in the toilets, and several other horror stories. I would be pleased to say there was toilet paper in the toilets the whole time. But more importantly, really got to get the vibe of open source. You can see how many people were just in this room on the right hand side, and that was only about half of them. Half the people couldn't actually even get into the room. So it was a great vibe there. We got a chance to meet up with some other DPDs and some other FLOSS organisations at the Foundation's dinner the night before. And then we were delighted to be able to be on the DPGA stand. And our role there was to talk about our DPGs, but also to really talk about what a DPG is. And you can see just to the left of me in that photo, our new banner stand, the much late night pain for me and Ed, but we got the banner stand done and we got it there, which was great. And we got a lot of good feedback and discussion with people at that event. So yeah, very good. And we're looking forward to 2026 for FOSDEM, certainly a different event. So next in our schedule, we had the Mifos Gazelle Deep Dive webinar. As we go through some of these webinars, we'll put a few stats around. So you can see we had 23 attendees, which is pretty good attendance, to be quite honest. And we're delighted that Tom Daly was able to join. He took us through some serious coding, as you can see on the right-hand side there, as well as an overview of Mifos Gazelle and some of the approaches we're looking at in terms of how to integrate more DPGs as they come in, what we've done at the moment. So a really good talk with some good questions. And you can go and look at our YouTube channel, and I won't say you can subscribe too many times, but you can subscribe. And you will get all our latest videos and webinars as we put them up.
Don't forget to smash that like button too. So.
Yes, absolutely. Um, Next, we were really delighted. One of the things we'd like to do with some of our interns we have from the summer programs is be able, if there's events in their local area, to help them to go along to them and meet up with them if we can be there as well, which we weren't in this case. But we're absolutely delighted Akshat was able to go along to the Bharat FinTech Festival on Mifos' behalf and participate. I know he had a great time. He wrote a great blog post, and I recommend reading it as well about the stuff that he took out of that festival and the application to the Mifos community. So an absolutely great thing for GSOC to be involved in.
Yeah, and part of the other reason we had Akshat attend the event was we were shortlisted for the best lending fintech software at that event, but unfortunately we weren't victorious. But we were happy to have Akshat be there just in case we got fortunate to win. So.
So our next webinar, and you can see the stats are ramping up. So we looked at the Mifos mobile apps in a bit more detail. 36 attendees for this one. I haven't yet got round to working out how many people have watched, liked, and subscribed down in that bottom right-hand corner. But we maybe will bring those stats next quarter for people as well. But a really good chance to catch up. There's a lot of work to been done there. About Kotlin multi-module and how that's been applied to our mobile apps and how that community is now driving forward at a real pace within Mifos with lots of updates, etc. So that was a great webinar that we were able to host in February. Over to you, Ed. You went to this one.
Okay. Yeah, well, I had the opportunity to travel to Manila, Philippines for the first time for the third, I think, annual MOSIP Connect event, where they bring together various countries as well as TPGs to look at all the different use cases that are being powered by their digital identity system. And so this is from, I think, day 2 or 3 of the conference, where there was an unconference where everybody broke out and got to pick the topics that they wanted to talk about, which was a nice format as it helped to shine light on some of the important topics that align well with Mifos Gazelle. So concepts like DPI in a box, or what is that minimal DPI stack, which we can touch on later. But Godfrey and I also had the chance to host a booth here. So thanks to David for pulling together a number of slides to nicely showcase our products. And then we made this little banner stand here, but it was a good opportunity to engage with a number of different countries and speak to them around the different use cases centered around last mile financial inclusion that we're able to power through our digital public goods for both core banking as well as payment orchestration. And then once again, these conferences are always a great opportunity to take a selfie, but also to come together with various members of our community. So on the screen here, you can see some of the members of the Safeguards Working Group, which we'll talk about subsequently. We'll talk about members of the Resource Lab in the Philippines, and then there are a number of different DPGs represented here. So we got to meet once again with folks from MOSIP, folks from the Mojaloop community, folks from Carnegie Mellon University in Rwanda, and then some of the DPGs that are looking to integrate with Gazelle next. So OpenCRVS there with Ed in the middle, and then Jeremy from OpenSPP on the right. And then lastly, Godfrey and I had a chance to have some social time together. So we got to go to this one restaurant there where the cooks were singing. So we missed out that David wasn't able to join this tasty meal with the entertaining waiters and waitresses, but it was a fun time, and we look forward to attending MOSIP Connect again in the future. Back to you, David. So.
Yeah, so our March webinar was around some of the enhancements that have been able to be put back upstream from the Pepper Soup project. Again, a good attendance, 23 on the day is absolutely great. So yeah, really good thing. And again, I recommend if you didn't get a chance to do that, go and re-review the webinar. It really is good to see the work, some real live demos done by Barath for us, which was absolutely great. It's not just slides, we can actually see it really working in practice. So a really good way to see some of the stuff we've just packed into Mifos X over the last 18 months or so.
Yeah, so a couple days later, while I was still in the Philippines, there was the virtual award ceremony for the Future of Government Awards hosted by Public Digital, AWS, and UNDP. And so we had been given clues that our nominee, Financiera para el Bienestar from Mexico, had been shortlisted, but we didn't know who was going to be the recipient of the award until that evening. So David and I were waiting in suspense to see who was the winner of the award. Unfortunately, the Fina Bien project was chosen. So we really want to applaud the efforts of Infotech as well as our local Mifos partner, FinTech Yando, led by Victor Romero, for all their efforts in helping to build out the CB solution, which is powered by Mifos X, which has enabled this wide-scale financial inclusion lending use case. And so we're really proud of this award, as it's a great example and a unique example of digital public infrastructure at the government level, where in Mexico, the government is actually directly involved in providing lending and financial inclusion to the most vulnerable individuals as well as micro and small to medium enterprises. And so they're able to not have to go through an intermediary, but by building upon and reusing Mifos X, they were able to focus on differentiating the software and building out some key integrations to help them with this unique delivery model, where they are able to fully digitize the lending process, make it such that across all of the 1,700 branches within Mexico, that there was a centralized loan account folder where all of the documents and KYC information for the individuals or SMEs could be uploaded. And then that could reduce the likelihood of corruption by ensuring that the loan gets to its intended beneficiary. And then the other key part we emphasized about why this reuse of open source was so innovative and so impactful was now the entire government in any ministry has a flexible, agile loan management system where they can rapidly roll out new lending products as a form of aid to their citizens. So we've seen this when they were able to rapidly launch loans on the heels of a hurricane to help rebuild the tourism sector. And then most recently, they have some lending products focused on enabling adoption of Mexican produced electric vehicles. So we're really excited to see other use cases like this adopted by governments worldwide. And once again, proud to have this honor bestowed upon FinaBien, Infotech, and FinTech Yando. You want to give an update on
Yeah,
Ask Me Anything, David?
yeah, absolutely. I think it's also on Ed was out in the Philippines, if I remember correctly. We had our summer intern Ask Me Anything. Normally we call that GSOC Ask Me Anything, but actually it was the summer intern one because we participate in a number of summer intern programs now. A great number of people attended again, 34, and I know there's been probably about 3 times that I've watched it since in terms of it. Again, it's available on our channel if you want to have a look at it afterwards. But it's great to, as we went through that and I sort of went through and updated the slides before the presentation, it was good just to be able to reflect back on actually how much we achieve in those programs. And I think we've got a really clear message as a community as to how we support these interns, both in terms of during their actual internship and their progression and the opportunities afterwards. And it was great to get an opportunity to share some of that and answer some of the questions and talk to some of the many interns. And we'll give it, so we'll talk a bit more about that later, that actually applied.
Yeah, and then most recently, I had the chance to go to Kingston, Jamaica. This was the first time as well. And the Co-Develop Fund, along with the University of West Indies, was hosting the inaugural Caribbean DPI Summit. The last year, the first global DPI Summit was held in Cairo, Egypt, which David and I had the chance to attend. And then I was fortunate to attend the Caribbean DPI Summit along with Victor Romero from Mexico. And this is a group photo from the last day. So it was, a somewhat small event, but it was a very intimate event, and there was an intensive agenda which covered all aspects of the implementation of digital public infrastructure and looking at it uniquely from the lens of small island nations like across the Caribbean and some of the unique constraints they have in building these technologies, as well as sharing and reusing innovation across these islands. And so there were a number of great sessions highlighting especially some of the key bank bellwether countries there in the Caribbean and some of the innovative digital stacks they have in place with the foundational DPI elements like payments, identity, and digital exchange that's in place. So Jamaica highlighted their innovation, Trinidad and Tobago did, and Dominican Republic did as well. And then there were a variety of good sessions around digital public infrastructure versus digital public goods, the concepts of digital public infrastructure as a package solution, or DAS, and a wide variety of topics. And we gave a pretty extensive blog post looking at some of our reflections, so I recommend reading that if you get the chance. And then it was also a great opportunity for both Victor and myself to showcase the efforts of our community. So I was able to speak on a panel. I don't have a photo of that here, but Victor was able to participate in a workshop looking at the local context of deploying digital public infrastructure. And there were a number of different representatives from various countries where he was able to give hands-on demonstrations of the CB system and speak to the value of the local system integrator in being able to build on top of a digital public good and provide a sovereign solution that can be sustained and innovated over the long term in a cost-effective manner for the local governments. And then once again, it was a good opportunity to take a selfie, and there was a wide variety of community members in attendance. So I got to meet once again Julaire, who's from the Interledger Foundation. She's actually based in Jamaica. And then Robert in the middle from Co-Develop Fund, and then Matthew from the UNDP and the Safeguards Initiative. And then we also got to meet with some fellow DPGs once again. This is Raina from Open FN, and then Anina from Open CRVS, and then also got a meet up with Michael from UNDP. And then lastly, once again, Victor and I got a chance to experience a little bit of the history and culture in Jamaica. So we were able to visit the house of Bob Marley, which is now a museum, and then try some of the local food like coconuts, jerk chicken, and whatnot. But really want to thank, Victor for taking the time out to attend the summit, as it was a valuable opportunity to showcase the efforts of what our ecosystem can build on top of our digital public goods. And then I learned a lot about Victor and his younger days, and he really is a coding prodigy, but he's got a lot of interesting stuff in the works, and we're going to be sharing more of that in upcoming webinars throughout the community. And so I just wanted to upload, or Interledger, produced a nice video with a number of interviews they took with David Godfrey and myself at last year's Interledger Summit. So if the video will play, I was just going to play this minute-long video, as it was a nice, it captured nicely the tenor of the event, and we're looking forward to attending the Interledger Summit later this year and continuing our collaboration with the foundation. So I'll hit play here. One of the things I've really admired and appreciated about the Interledger community is just how welcoming and inclusive it is.
The amount of enthusiasm and the amount of support from the development partners as well as from the community is amazing. And as the Mifos initiative, we're super excited for this relationship.
Right now, I think there's more and more communities getting involved and start to see what Interledger can actually bring to them.
The openness I've actually seen here is, people aren't presenting and this is what we've done and this is it. It's like, this is what we've done, this is maybe where we want to go next, and how can we work together? And I think it's that work together bit that's really important.
And the most important thing is, of course, the mission of Interledger is financial inclusion, and that is very much in line with our mission.
Especially in a space like Interledger, there's going to be a welcoming audience who wants to help you out, and so that's why we're very eager to bring our communities together. They did a very nice job with that video. They were able to take the random sound bites from ourselves and put it together in a very polished fashion. So David does a great job with our videos, but we now know we need to up our game to compete with the production value of others out there. So, but I'll go to the next slide for the next virtual event that we attended. So.
Yeah, so the next virtual event was the Modular Community Meeting, which took place in Accra, Ghana. Technically, it's actually in Q2 rather than Q1, but we'll claim it as it's before this meeting. So rather than travel out in person this time, I was able to attend online. It's based on the time zone, actually, to IMIN and take part. And it was great just to, sort of reflect on how our communities can work together, where the opportunities to work together are. What you see here is the photo of all the people that attended in person. And if you look at the top of it, you actually see the picture of all the people that attend online as well. So it is a really hybrid event. It's probably, I think this time it was about, sort of 2/3 in person, 1/3 online. So yes, great event to be in as we explore how we work with Moduloop. And then our most recent event, Min, one of our directors here at Mifos, who's also leading some of our business development work, had the chance to participate in the annual Regional Compliance Summit in the Commonwealth of Dominica. So that was a great opportunity again. That's come around from some of the work that we're doing at the moment, and I know Ed will share a bit more about that work later on in this video. So over to you, Ed, for the next section, I think.
Okay, yeah, we just want to reiterate how important it is as part of our mission to go to these events as part of our education, outreach, and advocacy, as it helps us to build awareness, it helps us with this collaboration, and it helps us attract more members to our community and ecosystem and further relationships with other, like-minded, mission-driven organizations so we can collectively scale our mission. So we, look forward to continue attending these events, and we'll talk more subsequently about potentially, hosting some virtual and perhaps in-person events at the Mifos level in the future as well. So in terms of updates, we're going to first look at the great progress that the various working groups that David has helped to kick off and initiate this past quarter. So we'll start off with our architectural working group.
Yeah, so we've got 3 working groups working this quarter. So the first one is the architecture working group. We've got about 17 active members on the Slack channel. These are hybrid working groups. So we asynchronously communicate on Slack, and then we have face-to-face, well, not face-to-face meetups, virtual meetups online about every other week. During Q1, that meant about 3 sessions for each of the working groups. And we've got at least 4 regular attendees on that as well. And we're starting to explore how we can merge the engagement between those 2 levels. So we're now starting to maybe record some elements of the discussion that occurs in those online meetings. So if people have conflicts or time zone issues, they can actually engage with that content and then talk asynchronously afterwards on the Slack channel. This working group is really open to anyone that wants to explore the architecture of the Mifos products or discuss potential options, improvements, changes. It's a really open group, and it meets Tuesday at 2 o'clock UK time, so that shifts a bit as we shift time occasionally during the year in the UK every other Tuesday. The website here links to where you can actually see what the dates are. You can see what we've discussed in past meetings and links to those videos, etc. So if you want more information, go to the website or sign up to the Slack channel down below somewhere.
Yeah, thanks, David, for... Oh, I was going to just add one point on this working group. I want to thank you for getting all the structure in place and, just getting regular cadence of these groups happening together. And then I think one point to add around the architectural working group is we do have a standing list of, ongoing topics that we bring up for discussion. These are looking at some of the broader, architectural decisions across the products, but some just around the trends, facing us. But we really, look forward to anybody from the community, especially those, with more of that architectural and overarching view of the tech stack to share their opinions and be a part of this collaboration.
So our next working group, and I use the term working in the hardest sense of it because they have to trawl through our documentation, make updates, etc. This one meets on Wednesdays every other week, and Rafferty is providing great guidance and support to us to keep us on track and make sure we follow best practices and things like that. What you can see is we have a healthy number of tickets in terms of issues. That probably understates how many issues we've got in our documentation, and we really do welcome people to actually raise on the portal, which is at the bottom of the slide, any issues you see in documentation. Even if we end up with 1,000 tickets, I'd rather have 1,000 tickets to know the issues to go and solve than not. But we're really welcome to other members. We've had a few new ones join over the last few weeks, which is absolutely great, but we still are open to anybody who wants to come and help us improve our documentation, whether it be from ASCII docs through to Jira README.mds to Confluence or even our WordPress website. We're trying to get them all updated, all in sync, and a single place for each category of information. And these pictorially just show how many issues we've got. So in terms of our priorities on the next slide, what we're starting to do is look at onboarding documents. There's a reason for that. People will need those as we go into our summer internships. So there's no surprise that we're doing those now to really help internal contributors, especially those know where to start and do things. We're also working on updating our documentation guidelines. They were written about a year ago when we started this project. And we just want to improve the governance and style guides a bit further with reflections from the first year of having done the documentation working group. So 2 objectives that we're really looking forward to doing in Q2 alongside handling some of those tickets. Our next working group is certainly very active, and that is the AI for All working group. It's been phenomenal to see how much this working group has really kicked up over the last sort of quarter. So we now have 80 members of our Slack community, and that does go up daily. I do not kid you. It's probably 81 if I look now, because I did that number last night. We have 15 regular attendees that attend the meeting, and a number that come in and out when they need. We held 3 meetings in Q1. We've had quite a few already in Q2 afterwards. This really is just exploring AI. It's the buzzword everybody's got, so everybody's got to say AI, but what we're actually doing in this working group is really looking at where can it have impact, where can it help the Mifos products, where can it help financial inclusion in general. This one meets on a Thursday every 2 weeks, and again, it's got a dedicated website with some of the things we're looking at in there, some of the members so you can reach out, a Slack channel so we chat, and that is a very vibrant chat on the Slack channel. So don't join it if you don't like waking up to a stream of AI stuff to look at, because it really does chat every day on that one. But we've also on our website got some demos that people have done. And if we go on to the next slide, an example of this is we've been starting to look at the MCP server functionality. So it's great to have Victor walk us through a demo of some of the stuff he'd done, which had gone from concept to stage of reality, a new repo with some content and a link into the UI. Absolutely great. And I know he's doing a lot more work on it. And we will be exploring that in one of our webinars later this quarter. But we've also seen other contributions to the community AI application. So taking on some of the GSOCs work that have been done in the past, people have started contributing to it now, obviously in advance of maybe some of the GSOC and C4 GT projects this summer. So yeah, go to our web pages and you can actually find some more of those demos.
Okay, now we're going to take a look at the 4 products that we broadly maintain across the community. So I'm going to start off with Mifos X. And I think we touched on this on a subsequent slide, but we've unified the positioning around Mifos X to make it more clear the distinct, parts of this product suite. So there is the Mifos X core banking platform itself, which is powered by Apache Fineract. And then there is the Mifos X web app, which is the user interface for staff to conduct their operations. And then what we previously called the Android client is now called the Mifos X Field Officer app. And this is essentially that mobile app to allow staff to conduct their operations out in the field. And so we made great progress across all of these parts of our overall Mifos X product suite this past quarter. So around the platform, I want to thank Victor for packaging up the Mifos X 25.03 release on top of the latest stable version of Fineract. And that release brought in a lot of the enhancements that were demonstrated in the webinar, looking at the enhancements to the loan module, the progressive loan module in this case, around interest-bearing loan support that's come from the Pepper Soup project. And then for the future, roadmap of the platform, we have a number of these longer standing items, which we're aiming to make good progress on across the upcoming months. So we'll talk more about the type safety and the refactoring that's been being implemented on a subsequent slide. But then we're also going to make some headway around the modularization of the security architecture, as well as putting in a more secure self-service plugin to enable first-party and third-party apps to connect securely to the back end. And then there'll be a continuing ongoing stream of additional functional enhancements. And then in terms of the web app, I really want to, thank Felix Van Hove and Pushpendra and other committers who have been really helping to drive a ton of activity and momentum across the web app. We now have, a formal release process, and we released the 1.00 release of the web app, which contained a wide variety of bug fixes and usability enhancements. And then there's a healthy backlog of additional updates that are forthcoming. So the upgrade from the current version of Angular, I believe 14, to the most stable version is a massive one. And so we're getting the work in place. I'm going to be doing that upgrade soon. We're going to continue rounding off the additional work to consume the auto-generated TypeScript client from the backend. And then we're also going to be redesigning some of the key pages like the customer and account pages. And I'll talk a little bit more about the activity on the next slide. But then around the field officer app, we've been continuing to make architectural enhancements to enable the developers across the community to more easily contribute to extending it. And then we're going to be completing that migration to the Kotlin multi-platform and Compose multi-platform development framework. And then we've had a number of good conversations with some of the actual users in the community who've shared with us their roadmap of new features and capabilities they'd like to see within the field officer app. So we're aiming to implement some of those. So we're eager to hopefully have some new functionality come on top of the new architectural base that we have for the field officer app. And I did want to specifically call out the heightened level of activity that we've seen across the past quarter on top of the web apps, and really want to thank both Pushpendra as well as Felix for how much energy, passion, and organization they've been putting into driving this increase in contributions. So I called out all the contributors here who have made pull requests or commits to the web app over the past quarter. But once again, want to thank the community for this effort. And we look forward to continuing this to make sure, our web app is as polished and well-performing as possible, as it is the face of our platform. And we want to make sure people have the best user experience that they can on top of it. So great work, Felix, Pushpendra, and the rest of the team that's been contributing to the web apps. And then just in terms of downloads, I don't think we had as many statistics as we did at the last recap meeting, but just at a high level, here are the Mifos X downloads that we get from SourceForge. So we're continuing to see, large spread of downloads across various countries. I think it was across 60 countries in this past quarter, but we'll continue to track this and make sure, as we get more regular releases out there and push more changes through, that we continue to see an increase in the activity of those downloading the platform. And then wanted to call out this QR code here on the left. So we shared this slide before around the importance of the virtuous cycle in helping us achieve our mission. So we need everybody to try to maintain an upstream approach where you are staying on that latest code base and you're able to easily upgrade. You're also easily able to contribute back. And then in parallel, we adopt this hourglass approach to our architecture, where we're trying to make the middle as thin and maintainable as possible, but enable you, the community, and our ecosystem to contribute in helping to build out the underlying primitives and functionalities that power a wide variety of use cases for financial inclusion and financial services, and then providing the APIs and extension points such that all of the demand side applications as well as use cases that need to be built can be powered by the platform. And so the QR code on the left-hand side should take you to a spreadsheet that you can make a copy of. And then we encourage partners and individuals across our community to fill out this spreadsheet, which is a internal versus external roadmap. So we very much, recognize that for those deploying or building commercial solutions on top of Mifos X, that you might have a set of features that are your secret sauce and your differentiator, or it might be something that's so unique to your market that you don't need to or want to contribute it back. But then there might be bugs that you're fixing or features that you're working on, which would be valuable to the community as a whole. So we encourage and try to work with each of our implementing system integrators and partners to fill out this internal and external roadmap, so the boundaries of where you can contribute are clear, and we can, work hand in hand with you to bring those contributions back upstream and help us create that virtuous cycle. I'll pass it on to David for a brief update on the payment hub as well.
Yeah, so Payment Hub EE, no release this quarter for Payment Hub EE, but that doesn't mean significant work hasn't gone on in the background. So there's a lot of work that's been done to remove some of the dependencies to a JFrog server that was decommissioned. And there's now a new Mifos JFrog server in place to start serving out some of those dependencies. So that's been really important for those trying to install and adopt it. Also, really want to call out some of the work that's been done by Devash in our community. He's been doing it partly for work we need to do in Gazelle, but it needs to be done at source in Payment Hub EE on fixing some of the Circle CI pipelines and making sure they're working correctly. So that's absolutely great work that's been contributed there. We are looking to a potential release later this year of Payment Hub EE. Some of it will be bug fixy type stuff. Some of it will be a little bit more functionality in this and changes to the operations web interface and things like that. And it will probably have a 1.14 number, we think, but we'll wait to see what the content is and the semantic versioning. We're also looking at potential refactoring and abstraction of the workflow engine layer. And we continue to look at that and discuss it both in the architecture working group at BAD product level as well. And just a little information call out. Just be aware at the moment, Docker has changed its policies on downloading. That is actually affecting a lot of open source projects, and we're not unique. Unfortunately, we're also impacted in that there is a rate limit on how many things you can download from Docker images. And unfortunately, the license terms for that is the individual that downloads it rather than the organization that's put it up there. So it's not even something we could even fix, or as Docker wants people to do, by the way, out the problem, because it's actually the people that download that have the issue. So we're looking into what we can do to remove some of that dependency on the number of things we download from Docker, and therefore individuals hitting that rate limit and having long install impacts as a result. We've also got a vibrant mobile applications community, as we've discussed at length. I think one of the significant things we've done this quarter, we just really want to highlight to you, is just a bit of rebranding and a realignment to make things clearer. So what was known as the mobile wallet is now known as Mifos Pay. That was already used in some places, but we're trying to be consistent across now. So you'll notice that the Slack channels have renamed, and we will over this quarter be renaming the repos in a safe way to do it. So we'll do that by creating new repos, copying across, and deprecating the old repos so that they're there for past links. Mifos Mobile is our mobile backlink application still. So that very much is the application for end users wanting to interface with Mifos X to manage their savings and loan accounts. And then, as Ed already mentioned, what was previously the Android client, which is actually multi-platform now, we have now renamed to be the Field Officer application. So it's much more specific to people as to what the application of our mobile applications is. So hopefully that will go a bit towards clarity. But there's been lots and lots of other work going on in the mobile community. As we said, we've got the deep dive you can go and look at, and there'll be a lot more stuff will get shared from what that community is doing, especially around some of the workflows that they're investigating now as to how these apps could be deployed and used at scale by people wanting to roll out the applications alongside their Mifos X installations.
Yeah, and then if you're interested in contributing, just join one of the Slack channels, and then Rajan, he has a regular weekly, stand-up meeting, and he's mobilized a strong contingent of developers, and there's a strong, roadmap and backlog of efforts we're looking to implement throughout the coming year on top of our mobile suites.
Absolutely. And Mifos Gazelle hasn't stood still either. As I say, we launched right at the end of last year, and Q1 has been hectic at times, just in managing the amount of interest and questions we've got about Mifos Gazelle. It definitely resonated with a need both for the adopters in terms of having something that they can actually touch, feel, and play with, but also across other DPGs. So it's been great to have that level of interest, even if that does mean I'm doing an awful lot of discussions about what Gazelle is and how other people can get involved. But I think that means that we really touched a sweet spot here in terms of what people need. We're in active conversation with a number of DPGs, and I would expect some of those to be integrated within the coming year into Mifos Gazelle. We did have to make a decision not to release this quarter. You may remember we did aim to have a quarterly release. We will push that to next quarter, really, because we wanted to capitalize and take a lot of time to concentrate on those DPG discussions for integration. But we've also been working on the first true end-to-end demo, and we wanted to get that right to get out there. So they will be releasing quarter 2, but there is no quarter 1 release. Also, a lot of work has gone into simplifying the Payment Hub EE deployment, and the issue around Docker really hits Gazelle as well because it goes and uses Docker a lot. So we're looking at alternatives that we want to wrap into that quarter 2 release to make sure that it works back to less than the 15-minute install time we had previously.
Okay, next up, we're going to look at some of the announcements we've made across the community over the past couple months. So first off, we formally announced and recognized the collaboration and formal relationship we've had with Infotech in Mexico over the past couple years. But the impetus for this was Victor, printing out a nice version of our logo and getting it on this collaborator wall there at one of the offices in Mexico City. So we've been proud to work with Infotech in development of the CB solution that we mentioned at Fina Bien, as well as a number of other use cases they're looking to deploy the technology. And we look forward to this continued collaboration with Infotech as well as Fintechando. And then we also, over the past quarter, made 2 critical announcements around our shared infrastructure efforts. So the first off was the MOU that we signed with the TTIFC, so Trinidad and Tobago. I forgot the acronym right now, so David will have to refresh me on that. But the key part of this MOU and collaboration is helping to digitally transform the member unions of the cooperative credit union there in Trinidad and Tobago. And we're excited for what we can do in this market, as it's a good smaller market where we can test out the concepts of the shared infrastructure, demonstrate the value and impact it can have, and then learn some key lessons that can be replicated not just across the region, but across the globe as well. And we've then been happy to announce subsequently another MOU with the Dominican Cooperative Societies League to help with the deployment of Mifos via this similar shared infrastructure approach across Dominica, as well as the other, Caribbean Eastern states. And so we're looking forward to continuing to build out, improve this model for how we can deploy Mifos X, as well as Payment Hub and other modern banking technologies effectively in the cloud, and help to digitally transform these last mile financial institutions. So stay tuned for more updates from Min, myself, David, and the team as we work on rolling this out in the Caribbean. We've also got some good headway in some of the regions across sub-Saharan Africa as well. So if you're a country that's looking to roll out a similar solution at scale, or local system integrator that would like to be involved in these approaches, please do be in touch. And then we also were largening and widening both our advisory board as well as our board of directors. So we welcome Diego from Ecuador as a strategic advisor to Latin America. So he's going to be helping us identify more relationships where we can promote digital public infrastructure, as well as shared infrastructure across the Latin America and Caribbean region. And then Andreas is joining our board of directors as well, and he brings a good background across the startup space and really, helping to execute and deliver upon visions and strong go-to-market strategy. So he's going to help us with this shared infrastructure and help us in identifying, ways to help Mifos be more self-sustaining and help us to enable more of the value that's created across our ecosystem to flow throughout the community and help to bring benefit to all in a sustainable manner. Let me pass it on to David to give some updates on the great work he's done with our code of conduct.
Okay, so TTIFC is Trinidad and Tobago International Financial Centre, by the way.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, David.
code of conduct. We put out a drafted code of conduct. We try to review it every 2 years as a community. Really, the updates we put in that draft were to reflect just the way we've changed our communication style and how communication style in general has changed, and some of the terminology people use around conduct has changed. So we issued a draft out on the 15th of April, and I'm really delighted. We actually got people participate, which is absolutely great. I love to get comments and feedback back. So we had that open to the 25th of April. We got some great feedback around clarification what goals of community were, that we hadn't really mentioned AI in it, which was a very good point. That some of the language and terminology around harassment may have been a bit confusing, and also some good old broken links that I swear had worked for me when I tried it, but hey, they were broken later. Thank you to everybody who reviewed it. We take on board all that feedback. We have updated it, and I think we've updated all those bits of feedback we've got and compiled it into it, and we have now published it. So you can either find it on our community engagement website, which is one of the websites the documentation working group is making sure is now much more up to date and relevant for the community, or on our main website. It is published in both of those, and the links are down on the bottom right hand side here. And really a call to action. Please read it. It's something we hope we don't have to refer to very often, and I can't really count how many times I've had to do it. It's so small, but it is there to support the community. So please read it. Please understand how we like to work together as a community, and that's part of our success as a community, as how we work together as a result. Next slide. So a preview. And if Ed was going to put videos in, I was going to put animated GIFs in. Why not? Our annual report is coming out very shortly. It will coming out in May. So please keep an eye out for it. Look out for it. It really will be highlighting all the significant work the community has done in 2024. And for those in the AI working group, I couldn't resist a bit of AI of someone actually holding something that doesn't actually exist in printed format yet, but hey ho. Our next announcement, I think, is around chapters and conferences. So we're really keen to reinvigorate the local chapters. We know there is some out there that already exist, but we're, really want to try and promote and push those a bit to get more participation. So if you're running or organising a local chapter, please get in touch with me, and I'll help make sure that is promoted through LinkedIn, social media, and all our other outlets. And we can also provide some content if you need for those local chapters as well. We've got a number of resources now we can hand out. Or if you want to start a local chapter, please get in touch. We'd be delighted to support you in doing so as well. We are also, this is the first time you'd have heard it, thinking of bringing back the Mifos conferences that we haven't had for a number of years, especially with COVID in the way and everything else. We're probably going to start it with a virtual conference this year, probably focused around things such as partner presentations, technical presentations, usual product updates, workshops on key topics, but also making sure we get some adopter viewpoints in there as well. We'll have more details on that coming out over the next quarter or so. But if this has whetted your appetite and you really want to get involved, if you want to help organise it, because that will be a big effort to do as a community, or if you've already thought of something you really think would be really great to have in such a conference, please get in touch with us. We're right at the start of that planning, brainstorming phase as to how we'll make that a reality for later in the year.
Okay, yeah, and I think I underestimated how much content we had to get through, so we're gonna plow through these last few slides that we've got. So first off, just David's going to touch upon some of the efforts in the Philippines around our collaboration with the PRL there. So.
Yep, so Technical Resource Lab out in the Philippines, we're great to be able to support them. They're also very interested in what we're doing as DPGs within Mifos and also Mifos Gazelle and how they can use that in the Experience Centre. They launched that very recently in the last couple of weeks, and we're pleased to be able to support them. We created some new little videos, which will be on our YouTube channel. Last time I say subscribe and like down there. You can go and view those as well, but that's really to start bringing that collaboration together.
Yeah, and then last time we announced the small grant we received from the NLNet Foundation from their Commons Fund, and this centers around the type safety refactoring that we mentioned above. So just this morning, during our architectural working group, Alex Vidakovic presented more of the progress around the new command processing infrastructure that first had to be implemented. And then through the grant, we've been working with a couple of developers from the Onyx team in the Ukraine to begin rewriting the various services and packages you can see on the screen here to consume the new command processing infrastructure. So over time, as we start to roll this out and get type safety in place, this will really position the community for modularity and ease of developer experience that will come from removing a lot of this technical debt. And then I had the pleasure of getting accepted into the Universal DPI Safeguards Framework Working Group. And so these are just a few photos of some of the members I've met over the year. I'm actually co-chairing the assessment cohort. So this cohort is working on extending the framework, which was developed last year, and coming up with some assessment and measurement tools to help countries evaluate and measure their progress in implementing DPI and adhering to these safeguards. And so I'll share, well, I think on the subsequent slide, there's a link, but the DPI safeguards is very valuable for those countries or the whole ecosystem implementing DPI. And it takes a holistic view at looking at all the stages of the DPI lifecycle, the different responsible authorities and stakeholders that are involved. And then there's some core, both operational and foundational principles which underlie the safeguards in helping to identify the risks that both the public as well as citizens face when DPI is adopted, and then providing an actionable tool in which to recommend processes and practices to help ensure that clients are protected, their data is not shared, and the DPI is implemented in a sustainable manner. But happy to share more details about the DPI safeguards for anybody that's interested.
Yes, we've continued to be involved in GovStack. We participate in the payments working group, not unsurprising that. What the payments working group has been focusing on is looking at a couple of areas, multi-currency operations. So that's particularly looking at single countries that have multi-currency needs. And there is an updated specification which is due out imminently, as in this week, which we've been involved in helping write, which reflects those multi-currency needs. Also, I've been leading a look at some of the use cases within the payments working group towards government to business and business to government, and that's heading towards inclusion in the next version of the specification later this year. We've also been working with some other members of the group. We're still the only solution accredited by GovStack for the payments building block specification. So we've been looking with some of the people that are interested in how does cross-border in the context of G2P and P2G look like in reality with a solution. So we've been driving that forwards. We also participate in the payments working group, a bit more of a watching brief there. So in the wallet working group, a bit more of a watching brief there to some extent, because it's focused very much on verifiable credentials in its initial release specification. And that first release, which is a sort of release candidate, will be out very shortly as well in the next few weeks. And outside of that, we continue to strengthen our roles with GovStack. I'm now recognised as one of the GovStack experts within the GovStack marketplace. And also outside of Mifos, I'm working with SDev and GovStack on ID and trust-based specifications. Other collaborative work we're doing is working with the Dynamic Coalition on Digital Financial Inclusion. Basically, this is the coalition is where individuals of a like mind get together to explore a topic. That's the best way to talk about dynamic coalitions. It comes out of the IGF framework. And what we're looking at is, what does digital financial inclusion actually mean? And can we make some recommendations and guidelines to ensure it occurs? This has very much been linked to the Interledger community. This has been sponsored by one of their ambassadors last year, who's been driving it forward, who now works on their policy and advocacy work. And we've been trying to share our insights into that work. There was a first draft which was briefly presented in December at the IGF in Riyadh, and we're working currently on a second draft of those statements of principles, which will be published at the IGF in Oslo in June this year. And then moving on to our summer internships, Google Summer of Code, it's our biggest response ever, which is great. We had over 200 applications across over 50 different ideas. Our mentors have been hugely busy sifting, shortlisting and interviewing. We commit to look at every application, so the mentors really are reading them, not just summarising them. And we are down to our final list of prioritised candidates, which will be in very shortly to GSOC. And then we will wait for GSOC to announce the successful GSOC interns this year. I think what I would say is the quality this year has been exceedingly high in terms of what we got. So I would remind anybody who's on the call that's interested to also apply for our other internship programs, because whether we'll get through everybody that we've asked for, I don't know. But there's been a huge high caliber, and there's a really congratulations to all those that have written proposals and put them in. It's been great to see some of the groundbreaking ideas they've got for our community. So, as I mentioned, our other internship program is the Code for GovTech dedicated mentoring program. Applications close on the 5th of May, so hurry up and get in there. There is a specific application process you must follow. Just telling me on Slack you like me doesn't work. There is a specific application form you have to do, so make sure you do follow that process. And we have 6 projects, 2 on mobile, 2 looking at Mifos Gazelle areas we need to work on, and 2 around AI and accessibility improvements across our products.
Yeah, I just want to, remark that we're trying to do all we can to give all of these valued candidates that have applied to the internship programs internship experience with us. So, if you're not fortunate enough to get nominated or selected for Summer of Code, as David noted, please apply to Code for GovTech as well. And then we're also considering possibly doing Mifos Summer of Code internships as well, in case we're not able to provide a GSOC or a Seafruit GT internship to all the valuable applicants we've had so far. So, yeah, so we want to take a brief look at what's coming up over the coming months. And so if you go to our website, you can go to the events page. We try to give a summary at the events we've both spoken at and will be speaking at or participating, to give you a heads up on where we're going to be. And then a brief rundown of where we're going to be over the next couple months. So David and myself are going to be traveling to New York for the UN Open Source Week, where they're going to be bringing together all of the different UN and World Bank initiatives around open source. And there will be a hackathon, a DPI day, and some other valuable events. And we might try to arrange a local chapter meetup in New York City at the time. So stay tuned if you're in the Northeast area. And then David's going to be attending once again the Finos Open Source and Finance Forum hosted in London in June as well. And then David's also going to be going to the Global Digital Collaboration Conference, which is going to bring together a number of different stakeholders around the open wallet initiatives. And this is going to be taking place in early July in Geneva, Switzerland. And then Godfrey is going to be heading to Addis, Ethiopia, for the ID for Africa Summit. And we'll be speaking there and helping to promote the different use cases for digital public infrastructure, which we can support. And that's coming up later in May. So, do you want to talk about
Yeah,
the forthcoming webinars, David?
Absolutely. We've got a few webinars lined up. So one coming up later in May will be exploring more of that MCP and AI work that Victor has been encouraging and driving within the community. And I know there's a list of stuff that he's hoping to have ready by then as well, which would be great to share. So really recommend signing up for that one. We'll have sign-up links out very, very shortly. We just literally confirmed the time just before this call. So definitely pencil it in your calendar. June, July, we're hoping to confirm a webinar looking at more of the scalability and performance enhancements for Mifos X. So keep an eye out for that one. And our next community call will be on the 29th of July at 3 o'clock UTC time. So be sure to join us for that as well. But if you have ideas for webinars, but we've not gone there, or things you want to share within the community, just get in touch with us. We can add to this calendar. These are just a reminder of the volunteer calls. We do hold them monthly. So please join if you haven't been on one and you're volunteering in the community. That'd be great to see you. We explore a bit more what Mifos is and what Mifos means and drives.
Yeah, and then then lastly, we've got our calendar here, which lists the various meetings that are coming up. And then we'll try to, as we have dates for upcoming releases, put them in that calendar as well. But it's a shared Google calendar, so you can add the invites to your own calendar too. And then just wanted to do a reminder on a couple of the calls to action we had from our first meeting. First off, if you'd like to be highlighted in our blog around how you're using Mifos, how your partner company that's supporting it, or if there's a solution you've built, or if you would like to be recognized as a star contributor, please reach out and we'd like to highlight you in our blog through the Community Spotlight series. And then we are continuing to, gather testimonials and commitments as part of our 2030 vision campaign. So feel free to scan this QR code to make a commitment, as we're going to be putting more efforts into this over the coming months as well. And then, lastly, a brief reminder to join our next community call. So take a shot of this QR code here so you can get registered in advance. And then once again, David helped to compile all the various links here, and make sure to subscribe and like some of those videos on YouTube, but feel free to be in touch with us. So we want to thank everybody for joining us today. Apologies for running a few minutes over, but we'll get the recording of the community call webinar out subsequently as well. But I'll pass it over to you for any closing remarks, Davidson.
No, other than like and subscribe, it's been great. And I think one of the things that, just hit me when compiling this slide deck with Ed over the last week has been how much our community has actually achieved over this quarter. And that isn't the two of us sat up here, it's the community that's really done the bulk of the work behind it. So thank you to all of you for the work you've done. And I'll be more demanding in Q2 because I now know what you can deliver.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Thank you, David.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.